So how did I actually get started with double exposures in the first place? For me, I didn't really have time to take photos for myself anymore. Between my day job, family, and constantly shuttling my kids from school to activities, I didn't really have a lot of dedicated photography time. So I started looking at the different constraints that I had. What could I do that incorporated those limits, those time constraints and those location constraints, and still be creative? Because around that time, I saw my friend Keem on Instagram doing Flower Fridays as a theme on Instagram. And I had another photographer that I really love her work. Her name is Angela, aka Fantastic Plastic, shooting double exposures on film. And this got my curiosity going. Could I pull off something like this, but all digital, all in camera? Before I dive into how I actually made these, I want to give a quick shout out to today's video sponsor, Squarespace. I've actually been using Squarespace for over 10 years now. Their templates and easy to use interface make it incredibly simple to create and maintain a professional looking website without any coding experience necessary. My Squarespace website was an essential part of how I built my photography business. It allowed me to showcase my portfolio, share recent work on a blog, and also receive inquiries from potential clients through a contact form. If you're one of those photographers relying on your Instagram profile as a sole place to share your work and build your photography business, I would really consider making a website on Squarespace. You can visit squarespace.com/ReddyBallesteros to start a free trial and get 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain. Thanks again to Squarespace for sponsoring this video. So there are a few things that I learned when trying to figure it out. My main conclusions were that the camera stacks multiple exposures and it saves them each kind of like as a base frame as a JPEG. The cool thing is you can retake each shot before committing to the next frame that you're going to layer on. And at the end you finish it and it's going to spit out a JPEG and a RAW. For me, I wanted to understand a little bit more about the science behind how it was blending. So I opened up Photoshop and I tested the individual layers and tried different blend modes to understand what the camera was doing inside its processor. And I figured out that Ricoh's additive blend mode, it actually produces a result that's almost identical to using a screen blend mode on Photoshop. You know, as a failsafe, you could do that. You could take individual layers and blend them using screen mode. But for me, I wanted to figure out how to do these all in camera. And just a quick note, Fujifilm cameras can do this as well. They have multiple exposure mode. I'm not saying it's unique to Ricoh, but in this case, if you want to follow the steps of, you know, this tutorial and these tips, figure out how to use your own menu settings for Fujifilm. But my goal for this project or this effort was to make sure that everything stays in camera. So that meant one important thing is that I had to shoot everything out in the field in real time. So anything that I was doing multiple exposures had to be within the same distance of where I could walk, or at least enough so that my battery still had to stay on and it didn't exit out of the multiple exposure mode. I didn't want to go do something in post because I feel like that's a little bit easier and less creative. Well, not less creative, but less creatively challenging for myself. For me, I realized that parking lots and everyday drives became my new creative playground. I would spot a car that caught my eye, something maybe that was interesting to me because it's a classic car, a car that I like, and then I would try to look to see if there's like flowers or other types of textures that were close by it that I could layer into in a double exposure. After doing this for about 2 to 3 months now, I think, the formula that I found that works best is that I want to find a car that has some type of shade or shadow on it. So I'm going to shoot from the shadow side, and this dark part is going to act like the canvas. Usually I can use the headlight of the car to be a focal point for the double exposure part. And then for the second frame, usually it actually works best if it's evenly lit because the highlights and the shadows are going to come out differently. So I want a more predictable way for it to show through that first frame. And also, don't forget this, if you're using the additive mode, do not forget to underexpose the shots, especially if you're doing some type of auto mode. I do aperture priority typically. You want to underexpose between like 1 stop to almost like 2 to 3 stops depending on the type of scene. I don't have an exact formula because it's going to change depending on the shot. And if you don't do this, you'll notice that the images are going to be completely blown out when you get it. I feel like the success of a double exposure really depends on how creatively you can juxtapose the two subjects. In this case, I've been doing a lot of cars and flowers, and to take that to a step further, it's using specifically the headlight and then putting a flower or a bunch of flowers within the confines of that headlight, and I feel like that ends up taking it to a different, more intentional level. If you need to retake the second frame, please just do it as many times as you need to, because it's digital. This is part of the tool to help you get used to this method. And I think that's really the creative process. It's being iterative, and every single attempt helps train your eye for the next time you do something again. So please experiment. It's kind of like playing around, like being a little kid. And I think that's the fun of photography.